Welcome, welcome. Happy Tuesday, whether it is morning, afternoon, evening. Super excited that you're here. And this is the VIP Variety Showcase, where we are going to be showcasing, obviously with the name, showcasing our students and clients inside of Done in a Day and how they structure their VIP days, what their businesses are like, who they serve, why they love VIP days, and just continuing to spread the VIP Day gospel, which obviously is one of my favorite things to do. So if you're joining us, say hi in the chat so we can say hello back. And we're going to get rocking and rolling because I like to dive deep and I want all of the time and space to be able to do so. So with that being said, who we have on today is Miss Beth Carr, and she is super lovely with her cute flowery background. And she is currently inside of Done in a Day. And I am really excited to dive into brand messaging VIP days because I think that people think of it as a really expansive and thorough topic. And so I think people will be really intrigued to see how you get it done in a day. Honestly. But before we dive all into the VIP days and everything, go ahead and introduce yourself to the lovely folks and tell them a little bit about you, where you're from, a bit about your business, etc.
Hey everybody, so I'm Beth Carr. I actually have a brand and design agency consultancy called Fortified Branding. And I really help our clients focus on being able to tell stories visually and verbally, applying the science of storytelling so that they can shine magnetically to their audiences and also get out of their own way. When we have confidence with our words, there's a lot that we get to accomplish.
Amen to that. Words
Oh,
are...
and I'm in San Francisco.
Yes, I actually just read an article about the median home average in San Francisco, and my husband and I were like, "Yeah, no, we won't ever live there."
It's nutty.
It is nutty for sure. But that is a topic for another day. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, I would love for you to go to the beginning of when you started your business because you did not start it out doing VIP days. So, talk to us about when you started your business, what you were thinking about, and how it all kind of came together. And then we'll get into VIP days here in a sec.
Yeah. So I started my career as a graphic designer, and very slowly over the years, I gained more and more responsibility. And so I gradually worked up to being an executive creative director for a lot of different companies, most of which, especially being here in the Bay Area, were SaaS-based tech and financial apps and startups. And my job was to help these companies rebrand, refresh in their messaging, in the way they were doing sales. And so normally I would lead very large teams for marketing that we were in charge of every aspect of brand. But in being this creative leader, and normally the only female and the only minority female in a C-suite, I also, on the flip side, besides banging my head constantly on this ceiling or being othered, I was laid off serially every 18 months. And so after, this was a 17-year career. So after the fifth serial layoff at the end of 2019, right before Thanksgiving, being laid off on a Zoom in front of my whole international marketing team with the marketing team at a startup that I had just raised $32 million for just 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm done. I can't. There's got to be something better. What happens if I take my intellectual property, my magic, and apply it in helping all these other female founders, as well as other marginalized communities that I constantly see needing to be able to find their words and activate their brand in ways that make them so full of life and excited, visually and verbally. what happens if I start my own business? So, ta-da, February 2020, I'm like, ta-da, fortified branding and shelter in place. So, but what was profound is so many founders and entrepreneurs and business owners in my network knew what I could do, saw that I had hung out my own shingle, and was like, I need you and your agency, Fortified Branding, to turn me around. For example, one was a skincare boutique that had very high rent in San Francisco. And she was like, you need to help me. You have experience with e-commerce. Help me tell my story and flip me from brick and mortar to full e-commerce. She's doing great now. She's like so in the black. She's like, so it was pretty amazing. The timing, although it felt really horrible, it became a very expansive opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. And I cannot imagine having experienced that many layoffs. Like, I mean, yeah, you start to get frustrated at a certain point because obviously you're here and you're brilliant, and yet, and still, again, people they think safe, it's not. You're not in control. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And, my husband was laid off in June 2020. He was in the travel industry. And so I think a lot of people, especially in these past couple of years, have experienced layoffs if they haven't previous to that. And it can really shake your confidence and really start to have you thinking about like, okay, what actually like is a way that I can be in control of my finances, of my time, and being able to show up as awesomely as I am. Because I think that's part of it too, is just other people kind of stifling you and putting you in bottom. So I bet you felt that as well.
I did. And also, I mean, there's no surprise when we see this, the research come back that 70% of the workforce that was laid off during this time have been female on top of that. Right. Yeah. So this other part of me was like, I no longer am okay with leaving other powerful, amazing female founders that have vision, that have these incredible businesses behind. Like if we do a groundswell, then that will no longer happen in future, whatever happens, pandemics, whatever's going to go on. Right?
No. Exactly. Yeah, I know. Never ending. You never know. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, so how are you working with folks? So you said, obviously you helped this brick and mortar become e-commerce, and you've helped a lot of other really awesome, cool companies. How were you helping them? What did your services and offering look like?
Before VIP days or just before as a VIP days. Yeah. So I was doing all the things because I knew how to do all the things. And within a year, and all the things meaning brand messaging, design, web development, social media, anything that had to do with marketing or branding. I love all of it. It all gives me a lot of joy. But when I really sat at the end of the day, normally 16-hour days, serving a lot of different people, a lot of retainer clients, I was exhausted. And then I would go home and there was really nothing left for my family. And I realized part of that was also the messaging that I received growing up from a single mom who worked 3 jobs and slept for 2 hours as a nurse, raising me and my sibling, that you're supposed to work hard to earn money. And so it was also this question, like, why do I believe that? Why do I have to work so hard when I can do it with joy and ease, work less and make more? So there was like this, it was like right near the end of that path of just working 7 days a week, 16-hour days for the first year, right? To the end of 2020, when I pretty much beautifully stumbled into you.
Happenstancely, serendipitously, one of my favorite words. So, I love that. And I think that's where, that's definitely where I started as well. Just starting out doing services and doing things that I was really good at and not thinking anything of it because, it's this, we're told like, well, if you are really good at it, like, and enjoy it, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
then it shouldn't be work. And
Right.
so it then becomes kind of a contradiction, because then you're like, I'm confused. Like, I'm doing what I'm like say I enjoy and that I do enjoy and I'm good
Mm-hmm.
at, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
also not where I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. And so, so when you entered our world of VIP days, so had you heard of VIP days before
Yeah.
me
So,
and whatnot, or
so
what?
there I am feeling like super frustrated. And what's going on also is this message in my mind, like, just because you can doesn't mean you should, Beth, right? Like, it's like almost the, the mini Beth sitting here being like, WTF, like, this is harder work. This is just as much work as when you were working for corporate, but now, this job owns you. And so I was like, how do I find the freedom, the ease, and the clear space to be able to think creatively? And so I was listening to a podcast. I don't even remember what the podcast was, but the woman on the podcast mentioned that she had started VIP days. And I was like, what's that? And so then, of course, because I love researching too, I'm like Googling it. And I was like, oh, well, what would that look like? So I just started to fantasize about that. And I was like, I don't even know really how to go about that, though. And also, it brought up a lot of fear. Like, wait, I'm supposed to let go of these other pieces that, if I really put them on a rating scale, what brings me joy? What's the zone of genius?
Yeah.
What is great, but I don't want to do anymore? And what am I honestly like not thrilled by or not really excellent at that I no longer want to do? So that there was this big kind of like right in that moment.
Yeah.
And but at that point I had joined the other the club where you and I met, the membership, and there you were like, and so we have done a day conference, and I was like, okay, universe, you've just like totally answered this question and this like deepest prayer in my heart of like, okay, well, how do I figure out VIP days? What does that look like? And can I do it? Because what I do for clients, I'm like, will I be able to deliver this, this amazing kickassery for them so that they can just go rock it? And so there was a lot of like, well, what happens if I just start to explore? Move while being fearful, right? There's a guy named Bob Goff. I haven't read any of his books, but I love his quote, which is, live on the edge of yikes. And I was like, okay, yikes it is. Let's go,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I know. I think I did a podcast interview like really early on in business, and I'm like, every day feels like I'm pushing myself off a cliff. Like, it's very like, you just are trying new things constantly. And it is about moving through the fear and doing it anyway, despite like the fear. We're always going to be in fear of something, right? Like, there's just, especially now, there's a lot going on. And like, it's important that we move through as courageously as we can through the fear and try anyway. So I love that you gave yourself the permission to explore and play and have fun, which that's a lesson I've had to learn many, many times over, is like, stop being so serious, like, enjoy yourself. Because business can feel serious. It feels like there's real, and there are real, ramifications and consequences for things. So you want to be as tender as you can, but it's important to explore and have fun. And so then when you were exploring, what was your like initial idea for a VIP day? Was it the same VIP day that you are doing now? Like, tell us through that process.
Yeah. So I couldn't make up my mind because, again, the basis of my growth as a brand expert really started first with design. So I had a client, an old client, reach out to me through LinkedIn and was like, hey, I'm starting this cannabis company. Will you help me with my brand identity, brand naming, and then eventually my story? And so I was like, I don't know how this, I'm going to take a risk. This is like actually kind of, we're really good acquaintances. We've known each other a long time. And then I was like, hey, what do you think if I created your brand identity within 8 hours, but it might not be 8 hours? Like, I was just kind of like, but it might not be. How
Right.
do you feel? And she was like, yeah, why not? Right. And
Yeah.
I shocked myself. And I surprised and delighted her because at the end of the 8 hours, I delivered, 4 different logos and brand identities for us to decide where to go. But what I realized at the end of that was, again, that was the box B. It was like, that's a joy. It is a zone of genius, but where do you really excel? Well, and I believe this, words create worlds, and words invite you in. It's design that makes you stay, but it's the words that invite you in.
Yeah.
And I love being a copywriter. That's how I grew. I'm a certified StoryBrand guide and copywriter.
Amazing.
And so I realized, I was like, yeah, but that was joyful, but it wasn't filling, right? Yeah. And so why can't I show up as I serve others, just fully in loving what I'm doing instead of mostly loving what I'm doing? Right. So then the second VIP day, I offered brand messaging wrapped up in a brand messaging guide, which I can get into what's in that guide. And what shocked me was I was like, wait, oh my gosh, that was 4 hours. I'm done.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Talking about, I can't even, who knows how long it would take me to put together a brand messaging guide. So I'm like, that's when you're in flow, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, you don't even know the 4 hour, like, it's like, oh dang, like, right. Where did it go?
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I love that. And so then with that, how did you come up with your pricing of your VIP day? I know that is a topic pretty much everyone has a question about, and taking into consideration your other offers and, money mindset and all the things. Share with us the different parts at play and kind of tell us your pricing story. If you started one price and now you're here or whatever.
I did. I absolutely did. So first of all, Miss Jordan, thanks to you, and I quote you every single day, you're like, stay out of people's wallets. And I'm like, okay, stay out of people's wallets. And I've learned the hard way, right? Because I've been in people's wallets and, and those clients are like, oh, I'm a poor mouse, help me. And then they like let slip, oh yeah, in 2 weeks, I'm taking, a extraordinary retreat, exclusive retreat for 6 weeks in Cancun. And you're like, cha-ching, cha-ching, what? Right? So me staying out of people's wallets, very important. And then me also going, okay, when I deliver this and I give in the guide, there are like deep checklists and instructions. Nice. And also I've added things to it. I've added a marketing blueprint. I've added a content pillar roadmap. And so what do they get as this deliverable? Well, it is the value on the other side of it is worth millions. And I know that my brand expertise makes people millions. Now, it might take up to 18 months for all revenue to start really being able to be realized, but I see an immediate effect that is shared with me within just 3 months of, having their marketing have more traction, having a better sales page, having better copy on their website, in their emails, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's where I stood. I was like, okay, so what is an investment that hurts a little bit, but is doable and also rewards my time and creates a really great investment for these people that within 3 months to 18 months is a full return on an investment. And so for a long time, I was like, oh, it should be probably closer to $10,000, but that was very hard and scary for me to say. Very hard and scary. I was like, who's going to pay for that? Right. And so initially I offered $3,600 for my VIP days. And then a mutual business coach that we love and know, Rachel Rogers, I actually had won a trip to her ranch. And so there I am sitting in front of her. And I talked about my VIP days and how I'm approaching brand strategy. And she looked right at me. She's like, no, $10,000 right now. Like, she's like, no messing about. So, and then I was like, that's very hard for me to even be able to say out loud. And it's really about mindset, right? And so, so I was like, okay, well, I don't have to do this perfectly. I'm going to do it. I'm going to show up every day, perfectly imperfect, and just start to play with the ask, right? And so, so first it was 36. Then the next client that came, I was like, oh yeah, my VIP day for messaging, it's 56. You know, and I'm watching there, like, because right there on the discovery call, right? And then it became 76. And then finally now I'm in a place where I can ask. And I laugh because I heard you're like, don't do this 997, right? Like, well, Jordan's not gonna like it because, again, like, I'm like, psychology and numbers. Right. So I don't know if it's 9997 or 10,000. Right. I'm going back and forth right now. In my contract it says 10, but I've worked my way up since first starting in the Done in the Day program.
Yeah, I love that. And I think too, it builds that confidence. And while, you know where you want to be, like, it's both, it feels like a new offer, a new price, a new everything, and something that, you even said earlier, like, brand messaging and copywriting, like, is your thing. And so again, we are just repackaging it. Like, and so instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, like, everything is new, it's really like, it's still your same brilliance. It's still your same expertise. It's just repackaging it in this VIP day container. And because you're literally doing it in 4 hours, which is incredible, like, that price point needs to match that, because to be able to have that guide to literally inform sales pages, website pages, webinars, trainings, event copy, like, literally all the copy in your entire world is precious. And to get that in 4 hours is even, like, again,
well, now it's 8 because I added more things. So I'm not going to say it's 4, but still within a day, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which I love. And two, you can reiterate and, again, add, subtract, kind of play around and whatnot. What's been the most surprising thing about offering VIP days for you? Or did anything surprise you?
No. I mean, it did actually. A couple things. One, the reaction I get from the prospect when I'm pitching it is amazing, because at first they're like, what do you mean VIP day? I was like, well, normally this process, you have to wait weeks, but by working with me with a VIP day, within less than 48 hours, you own all your words, and you have a roadmap and a blueprint to just go march it out. And so I just see, if we were all cartoon characters, the spiral, they're like, right? And so that's that. I love seeing them already empowered with the thought of, I get to own my words in that short of a time, right?
Which is, I mean, again, it's powerful, that time piece. People love free, but then after, free is off the table, the thing that they love the most is speed and fast and quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like you compare again what it normally is like, what the experience is like, weeks, and you're like, but let's get it done in 48 hours. And they're like, yes, please sign me up, like, just take my money, let me just throw it at you through the screen and whatnot. So I love that. And also with that, with your VIP days, how do you get clients? Are you doing referral partners, guest podcasting? I know you keynote speak, share all the goods.
I love that you're asking that. So, I mean, again, like, I've been showing up imperfectly. I'm not even fully graduated from the Done in a Day. I'm in, phase 4. My website has not been updated since I first opened my shingle in 2020. I have a lot of updates to do. Again, shoemakers, kids are the last to get shoes. So really it's been word of mouth. It's every single client that approaches me. I've decided as a business model every prospect that I just immediately say, well, the gateway to work with me is a VIP messaging day. There are no other choices. On the other side of that, if you want to do retainer work with me where I can write 52 weeks of email, or I can do your social media, or I even now have a designer on my team who can do the website and I'll write all the copy, fine. But this is where we begin. I have more promotions to do. I have more referral connections to make. And I need to put that offering as a sales page and on my website. So I'm like right on the brink of like even more self publicity. But right now it's really just in my network, being on guest podcasts, even right here, right now, saying yes to a lot of just conversations, right? Because I love people. I get energy from people. I'm an extrovert. So that really helps in just the conversations like, oh yeah, and I do this VIP day if, and I give a referral. So you send me somebody, they sign a contract, you get 10% of my signed contract, of that initial contract.
I love that. Yeah, referral partners are one of my faves. And I think too that even seeing these all as conversations, like keynote speaking is a conversation between you and many people. Guest podcasting is between you and the podcast host. Like all of these are conversations, and that kind of can I guess take the pressure off in my personal experience when it's like, oh my gosh, like it's this, big thing. I'm talking to however many people or whatnot, or maybe I'm, crushing on the guest podcast host that I'm speaking with. And it's like, we're just having a conversation. Like, that's all we're doing.
That's right. It's just constant virtual cocktail parties.
Yeah,
kind of fun.
Pretty much. Yeah, which I absolutely love. So yeah, and I get that. So thank you so much for sharing. And what is next for you on the horizon? So you said, obviously, you just brought on a designer and whatnot. So Gush, tell us what is going on in your world and what we can expect from you from the rest of 2022.
Well, I've been playing with the thought of what happens if I become this agile consultancy firm that helps more businesses with their visual and verbal storytelling, where we're all a VIP day model, right? So what happens where like you come, one day is all your messaging and the next day is at least your homepage of your website and or your sales landing page and the lead gen and the nurture emails that come with it. There is a way to knock that all out very, very strongly that I know that I can do. And this designer is so amazing that she whips out amazing design that it looks like it took her weeks to do. So that's happening. And I want to continue to hire more and more amazing women and other marginalized people to come work here at Fortified Branding, because I think, again, it's a groundswell so that no one is ever left behind in the next whatever that happens out here.
Yeah, it's wild on these streets. So I love that. And so one quick note before we jump into chat questions too is like you incorporate a team. And so how does that work? And, was that something that you knew that you wanted to do when you started VIP days? Or was it just, okay, I have, it just kind of came about naturally? Because people are always intrigued when folks incorporate team members in deliverables and whatnot. So would love to hear your thought process on that.
Yeah. As I go through, I'm kind of, even though I'm a creative, I'm also a huge data nerd. I love data and just being able to reflect on it. It's something, Jordan, every time you say that, I'm like, yep. And so, and it's kind of a pain, but I did a while back, I did a time inventory, right? I just was aware, and I literally had a scratch of paper, and I just started to write down like what I was doing. And every time I changed whatever I was doing, I just would mark it. And what I saw was there were things for example, when preparing the brand messaging guide and the companion marketing blueprint and content pillar roadmap, I was like, okay, I've just done all the content, but if I had an incredible designer with me, they'd be able to lay it out for me. I'd just be able to hand it off and then free up that time, have that clear space to now go be creative and create something else or go be with family or whatever. And so that's where my thoughts started to happen. And once again, it's like, how do I give other opportunities for people to be on the ground floor of my consultancy so that we can all scale and grow together? So that was part of that thought process. And this is a brand new thing. And we're still working it out and figuring things out. And again, feedback. But so far it's working really well. And again, a lot of times the clients that come, they go, well, I don't have a team. Can you help us now execute? Well, that's, a very affordable retainer where we then get to show up and help you implement the things that have been laid out.
Yeah, I love that. And team is always so wonderful. So I know a lot of people love to be solopreneurs. There's nothing wrong with that. But having a team is really, really special. So thank you for sharing. Paige would love to have some deets on your deliverables. So again, your VIP, you talk about this guide.
Yes.
What this guide is, this magical creature, and what's included, all of that good stuff.
Yes. So I do approach storytelling with the StoryBrand framework. If you guys don't know what StoryBrand is, there's a really great book out there by Donald Miller, who is one of my mentors, besides Rachel Rogers and now Jordan. And he wrote a book called Building a StoryBrand. And it's really, how do you tell stories about your business where you invite your audience in to their own story, so that really what you do, your product, your service, your brand is a guide and your audience is the hero. And so how do you invite the hero into a story, and how do you guide them to the success and transformation that they are seeking through your product or your services or your brand? And so this brand messaging guide and marketing blueprint is almost 35 pages because I'm just extra in all my life. And and so in there we create your full brand narrative, and then I break it out. So if you think of the brand narrative as the tree of the trunk, then the branches are, okay, then how do I talk about transformation? How do I talk about the pain that the audience is going through, which is why they're seeking? How do I talk about our philosophy and our company's philosophy in a way that doesn't just make it about me, but more about the audience? And so this guide breaks down, dissects the story into different sections so that people already have this growing word bank that really, like, all your vocabulary all of a sudden is broken out into these sections. Plus I give you an elevator pitch, which is very, very helpful, especially when people go, what do? You're able to just knock it out. You also get a digital tagline, because it's not the tagline always necessarily that goes with your brand, but it could be. It's really like, how do you stand out on a search, on a crawl? You also receive ideas for lead generator titles, types of lead generators. Is it a quiz? Is it an ebook? Is it a guide? Is it a checklist? You also get suggestions on what kind of what makes effective nurturing, as well as sales emails. Then there's also just an education of a marketing blueprint. So you get a full sales funnel and a map of what each phase should be happening over a 12-month period, and then a checklist on how to start executing that. Amazing. And then lastly, you get content pillars. What do you say on all your social media based on the story that we've created?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I already knew, but also like super powerful stuff and whatnot. So, and again, you keep adding and refining and whatever it started out was, I'm sure was wonderful too. But this really is comprehensive and is really in depth and intentional. And so kudos to that deliverable. That's phenomenal. Is it just like in a Google Doc? Is it a PDF? Is it
You get a VIP portal. It's a PDF. There's two different PDFs. One's the content pillars that has links to examples of what I'm talking about to post for social media, and then the guide. So really you've got almost 40 pages worth of pretty much an instruction manual that you cannot go wrong with, and that there's not a whole lot of guessing. It's just all laid out very straightforward.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And how can the good people, if they're interested in your VIP day, how can the good people come and get all of your support when it comes to brand messaging?
Look me up on fortifiedbranding.com. There's a big, beautiful orange button that says book a call, and I will be glad to hop on a discovery call and for us to find how we can help you be able to own your words, your story, and execute without any kind of hindrance or obstacles getting in your way.
Yeah, I love that. And before we wrap up here shortly, would love to know what you would say to yourself, I guess, done in a day, thinking about VIP days-ish time frame where a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you say to yourself in that moment, knowing what you know now about VIP days?
That we have an opportunity to be able to work less, earn more, and live life on a daily, even with all the obstacles and the weirdness of life. We can live it with ease and joy. I think we were meant to do that. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I would kind of be knocking on my door if we did a time machine a couple years back.
Yeah. Yes. I totally agree. And not enough people are sharing alternative ways to running a business, to enjoying the work that you do. It's very one or maybe two noted. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's a great message. Definitely was a message that I could have shared with myself too, pre-VIP days when it was super scary. And I think a lot of people will be able to resonate with as well. Mm-hmm. And whatnot, because there is more than 1, 2, 3 ways to have business happen, and not taking yourself into the equation of truly what you need to succeed and excel is missing a big part of the equation. So even just, plugging yourself into how other people are doing business just doesn't have to be the way you do it. Again, you can take nods, you can have mentorship, etc., and make sure that you are really honest with yourself and what you need. And again, I need naps. I need, things that some people think are luxuries and whatnot. And I recognize that, there's levels to this, and do not allow yourself to kind of dull your light on what it is that you need. That needs to be talked about more and more and more and more. And so I would love to know what you've done with some of your spare-ish time around VIP days. What are some fun things that you've been able to do? Family, friends, vacations, what you've been up to?
Yeah. Let's see. I am always creating. I'm a big knitter, and there's a lot of babies being born right now. So there's a lot of knitting going on. I also am a marathoner. I love running, and being in the Bay Area, I know I live in a beautiful paradise. So there's a lot of running in the woods near the ocean. And then also VIP days have created space for me to be able to really take care of my loved ones, from my beautiful, very old French bulldog who is 13, which really is like 91 years old in human years, to just my family and I were very close, right? So it's those moments to just be able to fully be present and not worry about a retainer client knocking on the door, intruding on a birthday, a Thanksgiving, a 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night, right? So being able to really be present in every moment with whether it's family or with clients it's been incredibly freeing.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, I'm big on presence in whatever, capacity you're able to give that. It's really, really important. And you want your family and your friends to experience your presence when you're there and be there fully. And then your clients fully when you're on VIP days, So I'm glad that you've been able to experience some of that freedom and cannot wait to keep posted on all the magical things that you have coming up. So Beth, I want to thank you so, so much for coming on our VIP variety show and sharing about your VIP day, sharing about you. I think that it will definitely help others see how it could be possible for them, which is always my goal with these, is like inspiring, showcasing, and again, continuing to spread the VIP Day gospel. So thank you so, so much for being on here.
Thank you so much, Jordan. It's an honor to be in this community with you.
Yes, absolutely. So if you guys are enjoying this, definitely write in the chat and let us know. Definitely after this, I will plop in Beth's links and you can go and check her out. But in the meantime, definitely let us know if you're interested in VIP days, how we can support you in creating them. That is our bread and butter, our jam and jelly, I guess. Jam and peanut butter. All the things, that go together. But it's been such an honor. If you want to continue to come to the show, we are coming every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and on YouTube. So definitely make sure that you have your notifications turned on so that you know when we are going to be live. So thanks y'all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next Tuesday.